I want to welcome everyone to this course. This is introductory course to Food is Not the Enemy. Um, what I'd like to really focus in on is why we start turning to food, why it has supported us and helped us, why it is not the enemy. And today is going to be a really good introductory session for that. So I always start my sessions. I'm going to invite everyone to close your eyes and take a breath. And feel your feet on the ground if you can reach the ground. Breathing in and exhaling. Noticing your inhale, noticing the exhale, noticing any thoughts that come up as you arrive here, and allowing those thoughts to be there. And then gently bring your awareness back to the breath. And honoring that our minds might be okay with something, but our body might need some time to catch up. So if this is new information coming in, we really want to respect the body in that it might have a different reaction than our mind that wants to accept the information. And when you feel ready, you can gently open your eyes, bring your awareness back into the room. So I want to thank everyone that's joining me live. And I also want to thank everyone who is watching this afterwards. And I really want to focus on this concept. We've spent so much time beating ourselves up around food and thinking that food is the enemy. When we start digging deeper today, we'll start noticing and seeing that food is actually has been there to support us. And we want to find other ways to do this. But in order to do that, we need to have respect for how food has supported us in the past. So in this course, we're going to learn how we can stop making food the enemy, how food has actually supported you, how you can start understanding food is not the issue. Food is kind of on the surface and it's what we focus on. But underneath that, there's a lot of information, a lot of stuff going on, and you're reaching for food for the support. And how to start living your life without blaming yourself, shaming yourself, and feeling guilty, which tends to be a very common theme for people who turn to food. So I'm going to start by saying that I started emotionally eating from the age of 6. And I went on this journey. I'm 42 now. And I went on this journey, a lot of shame, guilt, blame, hurting myself with food and beating myself up and thinking I was the problem. And I started dieting when I was 7. I started Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers, Cabbage Soup Diet, all these different programs. Eventually, I led to diet pills. And then when I was 17, my parents decided that they thought my solutions to everything would be weight loss surgery. So liposuction was just introduced, and that's something that I went through. And I think the biggest shame and most painful part, although it was physically painful, was that 6 months or a year later, the weight came back on. So after that, I realized that if I wanted something so badly, something bigger is going on. And that's when I started looking deeper and recognizing that food wasn't the issue. There was something going on underneath. And that's what led me to do this work. And that's why I'm here with all of you. So I'd love for you to take out a pen and paper, or you can write on your computer and write down 3 reasons for wanting to change your relationship with food. And dig a little bit deep. Notice what is the real reason. So you could focus on the external, but I want you to go a bit internal. What would it provide you to change your relationship with food? And I'll give you a minute to do that. And everyone that's watching this, please get out a pen and paper and write that down as well. You can always share it afterwards underneath in the chat area for anyone else that's watching this after. Okay, you can continue writing. I'm going to ask you what you have now. As you hear other people, it might give you some ideas of what to add to your list as well. So, Kim, what do you have down there?
So I wrote to start living in peace and happiness, to let go of the anxiety and upset that dwells in every part of my body, and to be more present and have more fun with myself and with my family and those that I love.
I love that. Thank you. Shalise, how about you? Oh, you're muted now. No, it's still muted. No worries. You can take your time. Even now, notice your body and how it's feeling. There you go. Oh no, I still can't hear you. But you are unmuted. I'll come back to you.
I can hear you.
Ah, perfect. There you go.
Okay. All right. I wrote down to have more free time and freedom. So much of my time is spent on thoughts of food, what I didn't eat, what I could eat, what I shouldn't, just so much time that I would have in my life. So freedom and free time to feel more energy and healthy. Generally, I tend to just feel sluggish and tired because I'm either restricting or binging. So I just don't have the energy that I would like to have. And similar to what Kim said, to do the things I really love and be present and enjoy the life that I have.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Michelle, how about for you?
I'd like to feel less panicked around food. I'd like to feel free to choose whatever foods I want to eat in that moment. And I would also like to use food less as a coping mechanism.
Yeah, thank you. I think my dog's coming home. You can hear the barking. Danielle, how about for you if you feel like sharing?
I don't want to set an unhealthy example.
I can't hear you. Like I can hear you very low. Can everyone else hear her? No.
Shoot, I'm not sure. Is that any better?
Do you want to write it in the chat?
I'm not really sure how to do that.
Okay, no worries. Okay, I'm not sure.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. So are you okay? Are you okay to listen for today? Thanks. We'll figure it out for next time. Okay. Thank you everyone for sharing. So I really can relate even personally to what a lot of you said. It takes up so much energy to be focused on food when we're trying to eat healthy, when we're not eating healthy, when we're whatever healthy really is. When we have all these thoughts around it, it takes up a lot of energy. And something Michelle said that I just wanted to point out is the relationship with food and the using it as a tool, as the main tool. And when we start noticing our actual relationship with food, so food is one thing, but our relationship to food is what we want to focus on, because food actually has no energy to it if you think about it. It's just food. It has no feelings, emotions. We have a relationship with food. So I really want to point out the difference between food versus our relationship to it. And I'm going to bring this up later, but a great exercise that I always recommend people do is write a letter to food. write a letter as if food were a person and how you describe your relationship to it. It's pretty remarkable when we look at it that way, how much comes out. And if you do struggle with emotional eating, and that's why you're here, then you'll know that it's kind of it can be a very toxic relationship. So our goal is to heal this relationship and allow food to be enjoyable, pleasure, not have so much intensity and meaning, and to nourish us. Okay. Okay. So today I'd like to be open to a new way to heal our relationship with food and understand why the old ways have not worked. So we're taught a lot in our society of focus on the food, focus on the food. You can do this. Maybe you're not motivated if you're not doing it, or something's quote unquote wrong with you. If we actually look at the stats, diets fail within the first couple of years. And those that I've seen in the past 17 years be successful on it, it's because they've given up a lot of energy to it, right? They've given up connection with people. They've given up freedom and lightness, emotional lightness. And I want to get to a different place with everyone where you can achieve that without focusing on controlling the food. Diets only focus on the food. So majority of people, that's what they focus on when they want to heal their relationship. What we know is there's so much more to this than food. Food is on the surface level, and underneath it is all the emotions and the reasons that we actually go for the food. Diets fail because we're only looking at the external. So I'd love for you to start exploring for yourself. Write down which diets you've tried. Write down how you felt on them, physically and emotionally. And notice how long you stayed on them. Write that down as well. And as you write down how you felt on them, I'm not talking about all the good feelings, the endorphins that might run when you're kind of focusing in that period of time when you're on it. Notice what you felt like emotionally around your family. Notice what you felt like around friends, going out. Just take a few minutes now. And those that are watching later, you can add this in the chat after so other people can share as well and learn from you. Okay, so you can always add to this list. And just notice things that come up. And it really, the goal is to bring awareness to what you've tried, how much energy you've put into things. So Shalise, do you want to start?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, so some of the diets that I've been on, calorie counting, keto, Atkins, Mediterranean, Slim Fast, Weight Watchers. I'm going to be honest with one here. I even was on one where you would smell these markers before you ate. It was like they had something in them and you'd smell them, and then it would supposedly help you to choose different foods. So I've done those. I've done diet pills, prescription and non-prescription, so an array of those, and how I felt on them. Anxious, depressed. I really felt they made my self-worth extremely low, and because I couldn't stick to it. So I would question like I wasn't good enough at anything because I couldn't stick to something I wanted so badly. So my self-worth and my belief in myself was affected throughout them. Control. I wanted to control if I was calorie counting, if something came up and I couldn't, needed to control the situation. So I always felt hyper vigilant about control. And those were the main ones. And then I didn't get to the last question.
Okay. Thank you for sharing and for being honest. I can relate to so many of them. I've never heard the smelling markers one, but I could really appreciate how at that point you kind of try different things. And if you hear something could work, then why not try it, right? Yeah. I'd love for you to check in now, Shalise, before we keep going, is the last question. Just notice for yourself, is there any of them that you stayed on longer?
So the one I sit on the longest would be calorie counting.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. And how long were you on that for?
Probably a year.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Kim, how about for you?
So I did Weight Watchers. I did that cabbage soup diet. A lot of a lot of calorie counting. There was one, I can't remember the name, where you like eat these bars or this powdered awfulness like every 3 hours. But it was very, very low calorie. I did keto. When I was really young, my mom sent me to some doctor and they put these acupuncture points in my ears. And let's see, I just remember feeling really anxious and angry and depleted. And I always feel like I'm missing out. Like, was hungry. I felt confined. I'm Jewish, and so even on the high holy days, when you fast, like I just won't do it because it just takes me to a really unhappy place. Almost, I guess, a little bit of a panicky feeling too. And then I like that part about, like you said, Shalise, about self-worth, because it really does affect my self-worth a lot, because you don't feel like you can accomplish something that you think you want so badly. And I'd say I would stay on these diets for anywhere from maybe a week to a few months. The one I stayed on the longest was I did keto for a while, and it ended up putting me into this program, which I guess is a gift, a good thing. But it was during COVID that my eating disorder, or my disordered eating, came back very intensely. And I didn't realize, but I was starving my body. So.
Yeah. That I can so relate to so many of them that you said. And COVID has definitely affected so many of us, and connecting to trying to survive and trying to get our needs met. So thank you for sharing. Can you see me?
We can't see you.
No. Okay. So I'm not sure what happened on my end. No, I'm fully here and I'm fully present, and I will figure it out.
Okay.
Michelle, how about for you?
I've tried all the diets that everyone has spoken up for already. Fen-Phen, prescriptions, over-the-counter, and prescription diet pills, extreme dieting and restricting, extreme exercise. I've contemplated several different weight loss surgeries, even gastric bypass. There was a period where I drank water only, and then I would do a combination of water and an orange a day. So that was, when I think back, it's so crazy. And I actually was in a group where we met weekly at a preschool, and we had a weigh-in, and whoever gained weight, you paid 10 cents per pound. And whoever lost weight, they would win the money. Whoever lost the most weight would win however much the gainers put into the pot. And then we would exchange like diet recipes and things like that. So I almost forgot about that one. How did diets make me feel? Unhappy, unsatisfied, disconnected from my body. It made me feel suicidal, and I thought about food constantly. So I had increased anxiety just around food. How long? I'm 48, and I consciously stopped dieting when I turned 40. So I probably started dieting around 10. So at least 35, 30 years of my life.
Yeah. Wow. I can really hear from everyone how many different things we've tried. And I really want to honor that, how much energy and time and emotions have gone into all of these things. And yet, after it, what I hear is there's anxiety, there's stress, there's a lot of self doubt, insecurity, because we stop trusting ourselves and we give our power to someone else. We give our power to the food or to a program that's supposed to help us instead of checking in with healing what's going on internally. Thank you, ladies. Okay. So here's what we know to be true. Diets haven't helped you reach your goals. We can't heal from a place of fear or shame. It doesn't work. I know that whenever I've gotten to my quote unquote goal weight, I still carried around all the same insecurities, low self-esteem, low self-worth. I had a lot of fear. I had more fear and more shame that if I were to put weight back on. Your relationship with food is more than just food. Your relationship to food takes up a lot of energy. And I'd love for you to take a moment and just think about what percentage of your day has been taken up mentally by food. I spoke a little bit about this earlier, but just thinking of if you were to witness yourself. I know for me, it used to be like 80% of my day, like every other thought would be about either eating, not eating, beating myself up, hurting myself with food, hyper focusing on when I'm going to get that. And there was so much energy. So just checking in, and if you want to actually just quickly share, if you were to guess, what percentage of time? Shalise, how about you?
Honestly, I probably would say I'm in the 90s.
Yeah.
If not like right up to like 95 mark.
Yeah. You know what? I'd probably say the same. I was taking sleep into consideration. But my waking hour, I really love sleep. But my waking hours for sure. Yeah, Kim, how about you?
I mean, just a lot. It's just annoying how much I think about food and or not eating or what I weighed this morning and that I can't eat today and just this whole mental circle of kind of a constant obsession. So probably in the 80s or 90s for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Michelle, how about for you?
I think about food a lot, but it's actually getting better. I'd say about 75% right now. But it used to be, if you could go higher than 100 at certain times, that's all that was on my mind.
Yeah, thank you. Danielle, do you relate to that?
Is this work? Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I
can hear
figured
you.
it out. Yay.
Good job.
I definitely relate to what Michelle just said. If I am awake, I am probably thinking about it. I'm either berating myself for what I ate yesterday, thinking about how I'm gonna do better today, and when I don't do better, feeling guilty about that. And I mean, yeah, if I'm not asleep, I'm probably thinking about it.
Yeah. And so thank you for sharing that. And I just think it's so interesting how we all have such busy lives, right? Either family, work, just whatever it is. And yet it doesn't matter because our thoughts and our time still goes towards the food or beating ourselves up for the food or whatever it is. And if we just take a step back and just look at how does that, I guess, make sense, right? How much time is wasted on that? And that is, if I can help you with one thing today, it's we can stop spending so much energy on something that doesn't serve us and start connecting to ourselves, because food is really, as I said, it's food, it's enjoyment, it can be a tool, but all the extra energy we spend on it just takes up so much, right? Thanks, everyone. Okay. So knowing this now and knowing that it's not our fault and it's not a blaming game and we haven't done anything wrong, I'm hoping you can take some of this in and that you're not broken, you're not lazy, you're not unmotivated, you do not fail at being healthy. Nothing is wrong with you. The guilt and shame you're carrying does not belong to you. It's been put upon you. You don't need to own it anymore. You can heal your relationship with food and you can make peace with food. So as I say these things, for some of you, this is a really new concept and you might hear it and not digest it right now. But as I just read these and as I say these out loud, I just want you to check in with yourself. What does that feel like for you to hear that this isn't you? This is not your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not your lack of will. It's nothing to do with your ability. Just check in with yourself and just very quickly just share what that felt like for you. Can you relate to any of those things that I just shared and does it make sense? Shalise, you're nodding. Go for it.
Yeah, the one that definitely resonates with me the most is the guilt and the shame piece, and that I took on other people's guilt or shame or things they wanted to fix. And that brings me a lot of peace and comfort to know that.
Yeah, beautiful. Kim, you're nodding as well. Do you relate to that or does that sit with you?
Yeah, I've been doing some of this work for a while, which is, I always just talk about it as such a game changer for me. Um, because there's just so much. I mean, like, I don't think about food. Like, my husband now is talking about food more than I am, and he doesn't obsess on food. So it's like this, like, he's like, "What are we having for dinner?" I'm like, "I don't know. I haven't thought about it." So it's a very, it's a really beautiful thing to. I mean, not that I don't have my moments, but I don't feel like um, there's just such freedom knowing that I can be in my day and I can go to the refrigerator and think about what I want to eat and not just because I have to stand there and eat or I have to. The amount of time I just stood there in the pantry or whatever trying to figure out is that, in that percentage, there was a lot of that. So the freedom that comes with this is, it takes practice. And so I'm still a student, I believe. But there's a lot of freedom that comes with thinking about the peace with food. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you're here and I love your sharing because you've been doing this work for a while now and just seeing kind of how you have shifted and can shift as you connect with yourself more because that's what it's really about, right? It's starting to learn and connect with who we are and trusting ourselves, which is pretty new for most of us. We were born with it, but we lose it along the way. So the gift that I'm hoping that we take out of this is to get you back home to yourself and trust you have all the answers. I'm happy to help guide you. But that was beautiful. Thanks, Kim. Michelle, how about for you?
The one that resonates the most, and I feel it right in my heart. I feel like it makes me want to cry. I am not broken. And when you can't lose weight or you struggle and you're in the cycle, you feel broken, you feel defeated, and I don't want to feel that way anymore.
Yeah, thank you. I really connected to that one too, so I could appreciate that. Danielle, how about you?
It's interesting listening to everybody because I feel like I had a little bit of a different reaction. I felt pushback in myself against all of those ideas. And I think it's because my interior monologue for so long has been, you're just too lazy to do this. You're just not dedicated enough to do this. Something's wrong with you. You must have some sort of issue that makes you hold on to weight. Like that's been my interior voice for so long. So to see those on the screen, like my immediate internal reaction was like, well, that's not true. That's not talking about me. That's talking about other people. The other people that's true for, but not for me. So it's funny, I want to achieve all those things and I want to feel all those things, but my immediate reaction was to get uncomfortable and push back against them.
Thank you for sharing that, because I am sure so many people connect with that. And as I pull this list up again, Danielle, I'm going to invite you to look at it again and just put your hand on your heart, and everyone can do this, and anyone listening can do this as well and watching later. And I'm curious what it'd be like to notice the resistance and the hesitation, because this is not what we've been taught. We've been told or taught to some level that something's wrong with us and we are broken, and it's only us. Nobody else is feeling this way. Something is wrong with us. And what I'd like to do is just take a moment, and even if it's 2% of you, just question this and say, maybe I'm not broken. Maybe I'm not lazy. Maybe I'm not unmotivated. Just notice your body. Maybe nothing's wrong with you. Maybe all these people and all these rules and all these thoughts that you've been sitting with have been there because nobody's ever told us this part of it, right? And I just want to kind of make room in our hearts for this idea. And I'm really looking forward to helping everyone learn this and achieve this, because I have done this work for 17 years now, and I did this journey alone. And I felt all these things. That's how I came up with these sentences, is because that's exactly how I felt. And I've heard it over and over again when people reach out to me and they're sitting with this alone. And the reason I developed this community is because I really want people to recognize they're not alone, and they're not broken, and they're not failing. And so if we can even let a small percentage of this in, the curiosity and questioning, know that you're not the only one that feels this, and you can work with it. Just check into your body. And I'm just going to quickly check on everyone that's here live. Just see how you're doing. Especially Danielle, how did that feel for you as I said that?
Lots of things. I think the two most standout ones are probably hopeful, because I do see examples here of like people who have been doing the work and seem to be getting one foot in front of the other. And so it makes me hopeful that I can start to heal in that way. But then there's, it's also scary. I don't know if scary is the right word, but I feel like that's been my mantra, and that's been like my spot for so long, that it's, even though it's a good thing to let go of and it's a good thing to walk away from and it's a good thing to heal from, it's still scary to try to let go of what has been there for so long.
Yeah. I love your truth. And what I'm going to offer you is, don't let go of anything right now. Let's just take this in. And I really resonate with the word scary, because if that might be your word you mentioned, it might not be, but it is scary. It can be scary. And so in this class specifically, I'm just going to ask you to not let go of anything. You don't need to change anything. Let's just look at it with curiosity and notice these sentences and say them over and ponder them. And we can do this as slowly as you want. Okay. How does that feel? You just took a breath. That is great. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So I know I'm really drilling this in, but I really want to emphasize, because I feel like for most people that are watching this, food is told, they're told by their doctors, by everyone around them, that food is the issue. So I'm going to say again that food is not the issue. Food has actually helped us cope and has supported us. It has been your friend. So just take that in for a minute. Okay. So here's a picture of a little girl. That's me when I was 5. And I remember this day so clearly because I was eating a bagel. So if you can see in her hand, she's holding a bagel right here. And my grandparent wanted to take a picture. And I was like, you can't take a picture of me, I'm eating. I'm not supposed to be eating because I'm too fat. That was going through my mind. And I had so much embarrassment and fear of having a picture taken of me. And I'm curious, if you just check in with yourself, how would you speak to this little girl if she was beating herself up for eating? And if you have children, you can do this too. How would you speak to her, your child, whether you have a son or daughter? How would you speak to them if they were saying, I shouldn't be eating this, I can't take a picture with food? And just notice how that feels for you. What do you think? Shalise, what would you do? What would you say?
I would definitely speak to someone different than I would myself or my little girl. But if I was speaking, specifically thinking of that and speaking to her, I would just comfort her and tell her that it's just let it go. There's no reason to think like that, or that it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. Danielle, what about you?
Yeah, probably the same. I'd be curious why she felt that way and why she felt like she shouldn't be eating. And I think if I were explaining, I have a daughter who's 4, and I really just, you need to eat to live. It's as basic as that. And there's nothing to be ashamed about. You need to eat. Everybody does.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Michelle, how about you?
I agree with Shalise. I would speak to myself very differently than I would speak to a child. I hear my mom's voice. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? But not in a kind and compassionate way. Like it's shameful to emotionally eat. So if that was my little girl, I would say eat until your heart is content and don't worry about it. Eat until you're happy. Who cares about the rest? One day I hope to talk to myself like that. We'll see. We'll see.
Thank you. Kim, how about you?
Oh, seeing that and hearing that really is kind of intense for me. In my family growing up, my mom would prepare one meal for me and her. She would diet with me, and then everybody else in the family. So if it would be baked chicken for us, and then fried chicken for everybody else, type of thing. So, um, and and I have kids; they're grown now, and I have a grandbaby, and her too. But anyway, I would just say food is fuel, and food is for enjoyment. And eat, and then let yourself enjoy the food, and then let yourself get hungry again, and then you can eat some more. But that never, for some reason, I always had to feel like I had to hold on to the food and keep going and keep going. I couldn't ever just let myself stop and let myself get hungry again. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that I grew up very similarly to that, so I can really appreciate that. It's what we're taught, right? What we witness and how we learn from, whether it's a parent, society, friends. We get messages. So I'm going to ask you something else now with this little girl. How would you speak to this girl if she was sad and wanted a hug? What would you say to her? How would it feel? Shalise, how about for you?
I would hug her. I would hug her. I would love on her. I almost feel defensive for her. Like I want to, if anybody said that to her in my presence, I wouldn't let them do that. If somebody tried saying that to one of my boys right now, I'd be like, oh no, you cannot. So not only is there love, and I would hug her and love her, but I would also want to protect her and stand up for her.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Kim, how about for you?
Unlimited hugs always.
Michelle, how are you feeling about that? Then there's no right or wrong. I just want you to check in.
I would definitely hug her, and then I would encourage her to eat that bagel and see if we could have a conversation around her sadness.
Okay, thank you. And Danielle?
Just ditto to everything that everybody said.
Yeah. So here's the thing, and here's what I want to bring up, is that we all have that little girl inside of us. Okay. Some of you have done some work around this, and others it's new, but we all have this little girl. And that little girl was reaching for the bagel because she wasn't hungry. She didn't get a lot of love and hugs. And that was the best she could do. And I just want you to check in with yourself to see if that might resonate. If you didn't get, whether it's 5 years old or 25, we need to get support. And for her, growing up in the environment she grew up with, growing up in the environment I grew up with at that age, food was my only friend. Food was the only way I felt safe. So I want you to check in with yourself and take a minute. You can even close your eyes and take a breath and notice how there's a part of you that has that little girl inside you. And again, it could be 5 or 25. And she's used food to support her in some way, to get by, to get met, get her needs met. Notice if that, even a little part of that, can sink in. Just notice your body as I say that. And is it a possibility? Okay. You can open your eyes whenever you feel ready. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to take a couple minutes and write down 3 ways that food has supported you. We know all the ways that you haven't liked it, or you fought it, or it's not helped you. But now that we've taken this look at the emotional support it's provided, or the possibility of it, what are 3 ways? And you can write this down, and those that are watching this after can add it to the chat. Okay. So Danielle, can you think of some ways that food has supported you?
Yeah, just some of the ways it's always been involved in a lot of like the social fun, Christmas parties, work parties, family parties. It's kind of always been the center of like a social event for me. And then a reward for doing well, you know, going out for donuts with my grandparents or ice cream after a dance performance, or it was always a reward. And this is such a weird, funny one, but I'm a nurse, and in the break room, there's always treats, always treats. So it was kind of like if you had a really busy assignment, it was nice to just go in the break room, grab a cookie that somebody dropped off, and it was just like you just step away from the busyness and the stress and work, and it was just like a relief. I associate it with a break or taking a breath for myself.
And so sounds like it's helped you in different ways. Thank you.
In some ways, I thought that's kind of what we're supposed to be listing right now.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Michelle, how about for you?
Food comforted my body. A sense of fullness made me feel better. And the fuller I could get, the better I felt. And then I think that's related to somehow my brain relax. Like there's some kind of chemical thing that happens that I don't have a full grasp on. That once I felt a certain level of fullness, my body could relax and then my brain could relax. So it protected me pretty good. And I also feel like I can disappear into food. Like it can be my sole focus, and I can just, I don't know, it makes me almost feel invisible. Sounds crazy, but I also don't think it sounds crazy to people with eating disorders. And sometimes you need to feel like you can disappear. So I kind of can't. I don't know that that's supporting myself, but I feel like sometimes when you want to run away and you can't, you try.
Yeah, so I think you're really onto something. So both of those things. So food can be an escape, and when things are hard or they're overwhelming and we want to leave our bodies, food is a great way to help us focus on that. So that makes a lot of sense. We feel invisible, we want to escape, it becomes our focus. The other thing is food has a physiological effect. So it actually can relax the nervous system, which means that food and that feeling of full does connect to feeling safe and calm and the idea of being grounded or soothed. So you're not off by saying that. There is a physiological effect. Thanks, Michelle. Kim, how about for you?
So, so food it calms me. It helps me feel less lonely. It helps me feel like, and a lot of the um, disordered eating was I would hide. Like I wished I could have gone to parties and just eaten a piece of cake in front of people. That just couldn't happen. I always had to hide. So it was kind of a way to, um, when you said that, Michelle, it was invisible. That really did relate to me, for me, because I could just go somewhere and just hide and kind of be invisible and feel still comforted. And then um, I also really, it helped me feel high. I really got into the mostly sugar things. And so I think I got a high out of it.
Yeah, I can. You're bringing back all these memories that I had. Like I remember Nutella, for example. I didn't like Nutella, but for some,
Mhm.
what's that? Oh,
I mean, it wasn't it wasn't on my list of, but I do remember it.
it wasn't on my list either, which was interesting, but it was always there. And I'm like, oh, at least it was something. But it's like it was like the feeling it gave. So as you said, that all these like memories came flooding back. Yeah, it can help us feel invisible. It can help us do all these things. That translates to it being a support, right? Because imagine you not having that as a child. We're children until we're 27, technically. So imagine not having that, right, as a way to cope. Yeah. Shalise, how about for you?
So the first thing I wrote down was just similar to what Kim just mentioned in happiness. It brought me a lot of happiness. I got a lot of I didn't have a lot of other things to bring me happiness, and it made me happy. It brought joy into my life. The other thing I wrote down is food allowed me to have a connection with my sister, to have a bond. We raised our younger siblings together, and we didn't really have a lot of outside connections. But so for us to get together and bake together, eat together, clean up the mess together after we did, plan what we're going to eat next time. So it allowed me to have a connection with somebody. And then the last thing I wrote down and how it supported me was I think it allowed me to cope in a way that I wouldn't have been able to make it through functionally. So it allowed me to functionally cope, and I was able to maybe not get as depressed as I would have, or a different addiction that would have maybe been harder to still function with. And so because I had food, I was able to cope in a functional way.
Yeah, it's a really good one because it really helps us function, right? It's a tool. So I'd love for you to imagine, thank you everyone for sharing, this toolbox. When we're young, in a perfect world, we would fill it up with different tools to support us and help us become more resilient and manage sadness, anger, frustration, loneliness, neglect. When we're not taught that, we then focus on what we do know. So this toolbox is for a lot of people in here, 90% of that toolbox became food, right? Food is not bad. It's just we want to bring it down to about 20% of maybe our coping tools. The issue comes when we don't have any other coping tools, right? So as we do this course today, what we're learning is food is not the enemy. As in future courses, what you'll see is that we are going to talk about the tools and different things that we can bring in to support us. But our focus right now is just noticing that it has been the main tool because the toolbox has been empty. Does that resonate? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So today, what I'd like to do is start changing our story. And as Danielle mentioned, can be a really new concept, and it's hard to actually feel it. So it's like the idea comes in and kind of like goes out the other ear in some ways, or it touches us and the defenses come up. And this is so normal because it's a concept that has possibly not been ever brought to you before. Okay. So here are some things to ask yourself. Has your relationship with food taken up a lot of your mental energy? We spoke about that one already. Has your relationship with food affected your self-worth and self-esteem? Do you want to heal your relationship with food and your body long-term? Okay. Do you want to connect back to who you truly are? This is what I'm offering today in this concept, because notice how I use the word relationship. And I mentioned this earlier, it's the relationship to it. It's not actually the food. It's not actually our body. It's the relationship to our body. These are all things to keep in mind. So as we start shifting our view of things, we can then start healing from the inside out, right? And start focusing on, it's the relationship, it's not actually the food, which we've been taught. So for the exercise we're going to do today is we're going to meet the true you. This is the one that's born with a healthy relationship with themselves and food. If you can imagine yourself as a baby, or if you have a child or witness a child, nieces, nephews, you'll notice that babies eat when they're hungry, they stop when they're full, right? They don't have this intense relationship with food. They cry. They're like, feed me now. And they're like, push it away, or they cry when they're done. They're like, stop. Along the way, we're taught to lose this and stop trusting ourselves. And this trust goes far deeper than our relationship with food. So what I'm hoping today is we start learning who we are as we take away the food as the main focus. Okay. So I'm going to invite you. I'm just going to pin me to the top here. Give me a second. Okay. So you can put your pens and paper down and take some breaths. Breathing in and exhaling. Let's take the food out of the picture. Imagine you do not need to focus or worry about it, what you've spent so much of your time and energy doing. We're just not going to focus on it right now. You're free from the stress of food. This is how you're born. You are safe, you are loved, you're joyful, you're playful, and you're free. So closing your eyes, feeling your back against the chair, feel your feet on the ground. Let's breathe in through your nose and exhale through your nose. Noticing the cool air as you breathe in and the warmer air as you breathe out. You can slow the breath down a little bit as you inhale and exhale. Noticing any thoughts that come up and allowing those thoughts to be there. As you gently bring your awareness back to the breath. And anytime throughout this exercise that your mind goes, that's okay. Just gently bring it back to the breath. There's no right or wrong. We're exploring here, curiosity. And as you breathe, just notice how you feel in your body, if you can connect to it. Notice this idea of a true you, that free spirit, free-spirited, joyful, loved you. Notice where you'd be. So get specific with this. Notice, you can visualize if you'd be inside or outside, the grass, maybe some trees, maybe the beach, snow. Maybe you're in your room or the kitchen, at a restaurant, wherever you are. Just notice your surroundings as you continue to breathe in and exhale. Noticing any smells, what colors are around you, what time of year it is. Is it daytime or nighttime? Notice if anyone would be there with you. Are you by yourself? Are you with people? Continuing to breathe in and exhale. Notice what you feel like. What is your energy like? Who are you without this relationship with food? What do you notice about this person? And again, if your mind goes, that's okay. Just gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Get more specific now. What would your hair look like? What would you be wearing? Noticing if there are any thoughts or judgments. Breathe and come back to the moment. What would it look like not to worry about food? What would you be doing? Who would you be spending time with? And how would you spend your time? I want you to feel it. You may get a visual or just a sense in your body, whatever it is. Just allow it to be there and breathe into it. As you breathe in and exhale. And when you feel ready, you can slowly and gently bring your awareness back into the room. Yeah. I'm going to invite you to write out a little bit of what you experienced. Remembering there's no right or wrong. This often takes some practice. So let's take 2 minutes and just write out what you experienced. Oftentimes you just want to keep it in your head, but I'm going to invite you to write it out because it becomes very powerful when we write it out. Write down what you notice it felt like in your body. And everyone that's watching this later, you can write it down underneath in the comments. Okay. You can always continue this. Okay. Danielle, do you want to start?
Sure. Just describe like what I was.
Yeah, what was that like for you?
So I was kind of imagining myself. One of my favorite places is it's called Dog Lake. It's up Mill Creek Canyon, and it's especially beautiful in the fall. There's tons of aspen trees. They're just bright yellow. When the wind goes through them, you can hear the rustling. It almost sounds like waves. And I just love going up there and hiking. I used to take my parents' dog with me. So it was just me and my dog and baseball cap and messy hair and old hiking boots. No makeup. And it just feels so light and unburdened and present, not really agonizing over things that happened in the past or worrying about things that were happening in the future, just enjoying the movement, the moment and the movement, and not feeling rushed and just feeling content with where I'm at.
Yeah. How did it feel to be there?
Great.
Yeah.
It felt honestly just like a break.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That sounds beautiful. Shalise, how about you?
Okay, so I've done this a few times, and every time it just gets stronger for me and easier to connect. But I definitely, I would say, I feel a lot of freedom. It's almost as if I literally feel like I physically dropped 50 pounds or 100 pounds or whatever, but I physically can feel it's as if the weight is gone, which does tell me how much emotional weight is there, because I can feel it when it's gone. But I can feel and see my inner self, and it's happy, and it's also a little bit sad for me because I see her and she's so happy and she's so peaceful, and I think about how I crushed her or allowed her to be crushed. um, and so that hurts a little bit because I can so strongly see how much love she has and joy and happiness just being herself, and how I've allowed her just to be crushed. And so that part's hard, but the beauty of it is I do feel so much peace and connection to her. There's a lot of laughter. She's happy. She's kind. I'm outdoors a lot of the time. I'm with my kids. Um, it's just a very beautiful image that I'm able to connect with.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And I can so appreciate the pain as well, right? When we witness it, it's like this middle zone. And it's like, we're not in that place where we can fully feel it and feel that happiness. And it's like, I call it the messy middle. But you can see both of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which a lot of people can't. They can just see the pain. And now you're seeing the beauty and that lightness as well. And I'm focusing on the emotional lightness, but just having compassion, right? As I work with people, whether they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s, and everyone gets to this point at a different time. And that part of them that can see that lightness and connect themselves, we can pretty much say anything in hindsight, right? We can go back and look at why what you described as crushed her, but really she's just feeling safe now from what I see to actually the strength and the courage and the love to come out. So I want to hold her. I want to hold space for her and let her know that she is so welcome here and she's done nothing wrong. And you, your adult self, has done nothing wrong. You are giving that little girl inside you and yourself such a gift by doing this work. Thanks, Joyce. Kim, how about for you?
I love that exercise. It was the first kind of visualization that I did with you doing this work. And I mean, that first week, I clung to that exercise. It was like this invitation to myself to kind of have this moment of like I'm in nature. I can smell clean air, flowers. My body felt a lot lighter. I felt flowy, like the wind in my hair. And I didn't see like my colored hair because, as you know, I'm kind of going through this transition and not coloring my hair anymore. So that's been like a thing for me. But it just felt like it was like the true me. And let's see. I also felt a release. I always do, kind of when I get into that space of just a release up in here in my brain and behind my eyes, where I just feel like I have more clarity. It feels clear. Yeah, and I don't feel any restriction. I feel peaceful and free. I love that exercise.
Beautiful. Thank you. Michelle, how about for you?
I'm not quite there yet. I started crying about midway through, and I lost like my happy space. I feel like I still have some sadness to work through with my little, if you will. Tears, sadness. I had a stomach ache. It felt like a tightness in my stomach ache and in my chest, and then my brain started to speed up, and I got a little anxious, and then I felt my face get hot. And then my heart started pounding, and then all of a sudden you said to start to come back, and I was lost in like physical sensation. So this might be one that I practice more often than not, just to kind of connect, see if I can find, or maybe not even find something. I don't know that I'm searching for something. Maybe there's just some emotion to work through. I don't know. We'll see.
So I'm really glad that you expressed this and brought this up, because you're not the first person to share that. And I know when we talk about the tools, like in a different course where I talk about the tools, I'm really focused on staying in your optimal zone, which is your window of tolerance, which it means that you don't leave your body, because we're so used to leaving our bodies. It sounds like that might have been too intense for you in this moment. And I really want to honor that. It's not about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to a point where it's uncomfortable and you leave, right? It doesn't mean you need to focus on this. There are different ways to connect to this. So I'm going to bring up a couple that you can start with. And you can always come back to this and trust yourself. Trust your knowing. If it feels like it's too much, honor that. If it feels too painful, honor that. This is about, you know yourself. I can give you all the tools, but I want you to trust you, because you know yourself best. And this goes for everyone. Some exercises I like. I had a hard time with this when I first started doing this. A visualization, I'm just going to backtrack for a sec. Visualization is one of the greatest tools, because what it is, it's seeing ourselves, our whole selves, and connecting to it. At the same time, we have to be ready for it. Okay. So as I say that, what you can start doing is creating, have you heard of a vision board, or do you know what vision boards are? Okay.
Yeah.
Or go on Pinterest. You can do it with scissors, glue, and create a vision of what would feel like your true self. Okay. Either on Pinterest or on paper, and create it. And anyone that's part of the membership group, you can post it if you want. Everyone can try this. You can post it. And those that aren't, you can post it in the comments as well. That's absolutely fine. But allow yourself to catch up with you. If you're finding this takes you too out of your body, I really want you to honor that. So start with that, or you can draw a picture, or there can be music that's attached to it. It doesn't have to be the visualization. Okay. If and when you feel ready, you have this to keep practicing with and honoring you. So just check in with your body now and tell me how that feels as I say that.
Feels a lot of ways. It feels doable, but it also feels mildly terrifying. I have to remind myself. I wrote down what you said, trust yourself. I have to remind myself all the time to trust myself and try not to disconnect from myself. So that makes me feel a little more settled in my body, starting to maybe think about doing some sort of practice where I just see how it feels to think about trusting myself. I don't know, like my instincts and things like that. Because I'm so fast to run up to the top floor and stay there,
Yeah.
my brain. So yeah, I feel a little more settled. My stomach doesn't hurt anymore. When we came out of it, my brain started to slow down because there was something else to focus on. So I feel okay right now. But trust yourself that's huge for me. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, I think what I would love is for you to like print that out somewhere. Or maybe that in itself is your vision board, right? We've all gotten so many messages of how we should be. And I know I mentioned this, but I think it's so important how we should be, what we should do, how we should act. And we lose touch with ourselves. And so we trust other people. So I don't want you to give me, I don't want you to give me your power. I want you to take your power and take parts of this. Okay. And that's going back to trusting yourself. And I'm here to bounce ideas off with you. And yeah, this might be something you do, or it might not resonate with you. It might be not a good fit, and honor you. But I do love the idea for you of a song or that vision board with just the words trust yourself. Maybe a vision board of just like trees or the beach or whatever resonates with you. Just slowly starting to build it. How does that feel?
That feels good. The trust yourself thing, the more that I look at it, the more I feel it like settling in my body, if that makes sense. I think, you're smiling, so it makes sense. Okay.
I love that. So I love, so as I've spoken about is that we disconnect from our bodies and we tend to live from the head up. And what I just witnessed, and I think everyone here may have witnessed if you are able to tell, is that you were so on and up here, and you invited your body in and your breath, and you connected your body and your mind and your heart. And when they all are aligned, we can't do wrong. And that's what I just witnessed. I'm smiling because you had all the information and you created it yourself. And I was lucky enough to witness it. We all were. But that was a beautiful experience because you didn't give away your power. You trusted yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that breath was perfect as well. How's everyone doing? Okay. So I'm going to give everyone some independent work they can do. I call it self-care work. So you can practice this visualization if it resonates with you 1 time a day and get to know the real you. If this doesn't resonate with you, you can create that Pinterest board or play a song every day. The other thing I'm going to offer you, which I didn't talk a ton about, but I mentioned, is try a letter to food about how you feel about it in your relationship with it. That word relationship is really important because you do have a relationship with it. And those that are in the membership group can post it in there if they want. Those that are not, this isn't saying you should be part of it. You can actually write it out in the comments of the people of the YouTube video, and I'm there to check it and just know that I'm looking at that as well. Okay. So those are the two things to take out of this course that I'm hoping will sit with you. The beautiful thing about this work is it's not a ton of work, it's a ton of body connection. And it doesn't take a long time. It's a couple minutes a day. But what you get out of it, I'm sure most of you have probably read tons of books, taken in a ton of information. I can give you manuals and information, but you don't need that. What we need is to connect to here. So, okay. So I want to check in and see if anyone has any questions, comments, anything at all. I'm here. We have a couple more minutes, so I want to honor anyone and anything that comes up.
I was just gonna say, I'm really glad to be doing this again. It's such a great practice and reminder. And, I do some meditation, and I kind of stopped for a while. I hadn't been getting on the mat quite as much. And then I remembered that even meditation is rewiring my brain. It's a practice, right? Practice. And that's how I feel about this. And I love that it is this connection to the body, because I'm just like hitting the surface of kind of starting to look at myself differently, even in the mirror. That's really interesting to me. So I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for including me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I can say that I've been doing this work for a long time, and I'm learning something new. Every time I do this exercise, I come back to it now. I was learning something new about myself, and it's pretty amazing when you have the foundation and you continue to develop it. It's not a quick fix. It's not a race to the finish line, but that foundational work you'll never lose, and you'll connect with yourself. So I'm so glad that you did this and were here with us. Thanks, Kim. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Sorry, Elise.
Do you want me to go?
Sure, Danielle will come
Okay.
to you after.
Okay, I'll go real fast. I just wanted to say that the thing that I love about the visualization in this program, and it resonates with me, and it reminds me that all of us here and all of the people, the thousands, probably millions of people out there struggling, is that we all know what to do. And if it comes down to knowledge, none of these other programs, as far as like diets, keto, whatever, all those programs wouldn't even exist, because we all have the knowledge. And it's just that it's not a knowledge piece, it's a connection piece. And that reminder of how I guess it solidifies to me that there's nothing wrong with me, again, because I know what to do. It's not that. It's just getting back in connection with yourself. And I love the hope and possibility that this program brings, in knowing that it's just a connection piece, and that every once in a while I get glimpses of her inside of myself, and she's there, and she wants to come out, and she wants to be authentic, and she hasn't left me. After all I put her through, she is still here and wants to be a part of my life, and is waiting for me, just like all of our littles are waiting for us. And so I love the hope and the peace that can bring.
Thanks, Shalise. Love that. I'm so glad you get that out of this, because it really is about not a program and not more information. It really is about connecting to ourselves and building that relationship again. Thanks. Danielle, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say how nice it is to talk to all of you and hear your stories and hear your thoughts. And this is probably like the first time I've ever openly talked about this with anybody. And it's nice to know that I'm not alone, and I'm not the only one that's struggled in this way, because it's kind of been something I've hesitated to talk to friends about or family members about. And it's just nice to be able to come on here and know that I can share and be accepted and not worry. So thank you for creating a safe space to speak about this.
Thanks, Danielle. That means so much to me, especially because as I mentioned, I did this journey alone. And I see so many people and I get to hear so many people who are alone with this, and there's no shame in this. This is just like, we feel it, but when we connect with one another, it just changes things because there's nothing to be ashamed of, right? And the more we connect and have people understand, it brings up a safety and comfort and gets rid of the shame, which I'm hoping that we can get rid of, because this isn't a shameful thing. This is us trying to support ourselves and heal and get comfort. So thank you. That means a lot. Okay. So I'm going to invite everyone to take a deep breath. Notice your body. Notice how you feel in your heart right now. And let's honor anything that's there. Remember, you can always come back to your breath. And I want to thank everyone for joining me today. And feel free to let me know how it's going. I always love hearing from everyone, and I'll connect with you soon. Take care, everyone.